bit of an extended break this time around, but good to be back. So let me share my screen and we will get started with today's session. Let me share it. Which one am I going to do today? Okay. Are you able to see it? Okay. All right. So Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening once again to all of you. Let's get started. So what's going on? I don't know. This spinning wheel, are you seeing on my screen? It's usually not a good thing, right? Okay, so when I'm putting in touch screen mode, it is just spinning. Okay, finally. Okay, let's get started then. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Radhe Radhe, good morning, good evening, everyone. So let's get started on the topic that we are discussing. But before that, a sec. Yes. So yesterday we had Ram Pran Pratishtha. It was celebrated with a lot of uh, verve and energy all across Bharatvarsh and here at temple as well. So it is an occasion, it is a momentous occasion because Lord Ram, Ayodhya, as you go to the historical evidence or historical documents, Ramayana and Mahabharata are two of our Itihas Puran. And Lord Ram, he was born in Ayodhya. So there was a dispute going on for the last 500 years. Ironically, Lord Ram had to prove that that birthplace truly belonged to him. So the followers, they wanted to build a temple. It was going on for a while, and that while is a small matter of 500 years. And finally, Lord Ram, being Lord Ram, he followed the protocol to the T, got it resolved as per the rule of the land, and finally the temple was built yesterday. So it was a momentous occasion, and I think people who are in India, they would have witnessed something like um, Independence Day, Diwali. A lot of firecrackers were burst, and it was a very festive occasion. You could feel that, the energy was very palpable. We celebrated it here at temple as well. Unfortunately, because of the weather, we could not, witness that thing live as it was planned originally. But then there were very nice celebrations. There were very nice performances. Our DWFBG participants also performed there, and it was a very nice, occasion basically to be part of yesterday and celebrate it. So as you know, this is the temple. Okay, as I see even Canva has come up with a lot of designs for the temple in quick time, in no time whatsoever, right? It was built in record time. Two years is these kind of temples can take years to build, but it just came up very, very quickly. And these are some of the historical moments, right? The Lala, the deity that was established, and then the our guest of honor, Prime Minister itself, bowing down, as you can see that. So it's a great occasion, as you can see, one of the momentous occasion. It may spark off another era where spirituality or the traditions which fuel spirituality, they are taken to the next level and they get re-established in due course of time as well. At least that is what the hope is. And that may usher in a new era where it may, Bharatvarsh may go on to reclaim its old glory of being the spiritual capital or the spiritual guru of the world. So this is what I wanted to call out. It's good to be part of this momentous occasion. So, and there are a lot of car rallies and stuff that happened as well. So just wanted to call that out before we start our session. It was too big of an occasion not to be talked about in our session. So let's move on. So by the way, we'll do one of the sessions and talk about Lord Ram and Lord Krishna, the similarities and differences, and who they truly are. Is there truly a difference between the two or not? Maybe one of the sessions later this week or following week, we will pick it up. But today, let's get started on the topic, starting with the soul soup segment. Just give me a sec. Check something. Yeah. So the soul soup segment, we will get started. We are doing a success, happiness, and fulfillment series. So as part of that, we were talking about the topic of the price for success, which is there are no free lunches, that is, and then the willingness to tolerate discomfort. We spoke about the example of Edwin Moses when he was asked what separates him from other athletes or what makes him so successful. He said, "My ability to tolerate pain more than others." So it's a huge asset if he can actually do that. And then, what is the universal prerequisite for success? It is building self-control is the key. And then we also spoke about, we brought in that example of giraffe training its baby right from the word go. It's important to train kids early on because they are impressionable. They pick up things, they follow things, and they look at things without any baggage. Right? So for human beings, it's they can also take cue from nature. So many examples that are out there to see how we can build in that habit of self-control. Some are gifted with it because of their past sanskars, and but at the same time, it is something that can be acquired as well. Not everything can be attributed to a gift alone. So with that, let's continue and look at another beautiful story to illustrate the point and take this discussion forward. This is if you see these candies that these kids are holding, these are marshmallows. And this is the experiment, the self-control, how it maps to success in human life. There was a very interesting experiment that was carried out. And this was carried out by a gentleman named, a researcher from Stanford, whose name was Walter Mischel. Okay, Mischel, I think it's called Mischel only, but so he shared his last name, he shared it with you, Mischel. Or Mischel, I don't know how it's pronounced, but his name was Walter, and he conducted a famous experiment of self-control of toddlers. So he actually tested it in toddlers. What did he do exactly? So let's just hear it out. It's a very fascinating experiment that he carried out. And he named this experiment as a marshmallow test. So what this experiment entailed was how much children could postpone immediate gratification for a significant long-term reward. Okay, this was the experiment. We have spoken about this concept, prayas and shreyas. Our scriptures, Kathopanishad talks about it. So it's on similar grounds. Now, long-term awards for kids, they do not attract them. It's like a bird in hand is better than two in the bush for them. Kids don't have that intellect, right? Toddlers especially. So it was just designed in a way to measure their self-discipline around it in the short run. So they were placed in a solitary room with a marshmallow in front of them, and they were told if they did not eat it for 20 minutes, they would receive an extra marshmallow at the end and thus enjoy double. Their behavior was then observed from outside. They had put in some cameras like Big Boss does, and they were observed. Now, some children, they had absolutely, it's like no brainer. Immediately they popped it in. Okay, I have a marshmallow and I have an instinct, and they just popped it in immediately, right away. Some dialed in for a while, okay, but finally they succumbed to the temptation as well, and they had the marshmallow. And it was interesting to see they adopted different strategies also to distract themselves or resist that temptation as well. Some squirmed and looked away. Some avoided the marshmallow. I won't even look at it, right? Like I do. I don't put laddus in my refrigerator or at home. It's like, don't even look at that. Otherwise, you'll not be able to resist the temptation. So people tried different techniques there. Even kids did that. But finally, they caved in. And then willpower, of course, was in short supply, and the children struggled with delayed gratification. Very few children, they held for 20 minutes to receive the reward at the end. Very few out of them. And initially, nobody suspected any correlation between, the willpower and their future success. However, the research strategy, it got an interesting twist. What twist? That years later, his daughter, she was amongst those toddlers on which that experiment was carried out. Okay. And then testing it. No, she had been among the toddlers in that particular school. Not that the experiment was carried out on her, but she was amongst the toddlers as well at the nursery school. And they also later studied at Stanford, where some of their colleagues are also part of the test. So she picked up the test. She thought, okay, let me, figure out what happened to these kids and lives of these children that were observed over 3 decades. So then she went on to find what happened to those kids after 3 decades. Now, the children who had resisted the marshmallow for a full 20 minutes, they were faring better than in every sphere of life. Okay, they had better self-control, very simple correlation. Now, they were able to delay that immediate gratification, and they had better academic grades as they continued through their studies. They did better in their careers. They had harmonious relationships, even in personal life. They were less addicted to alcohol and drugs. They were healthier and happier. They did not have any criminal convictions. Okay, that is what was observed, especially for the kids that did. Now, children who were able to hold on for the entire 20 minutes went on to even score higher SAT scores, 210 points on an average. They scored more than others. Uh, and then, of course, they had better BMI and all those good parameters. They basically. On the other hand, children with the weakest self-control, they had 40% criminal record. They were in low-paying jobs, little money in their account. They were less likely to own a home, have money or set aside for retirement. All that stuff you can imagine. So this above study that was conducted was graphically called toddler's torture. You can go and look it up in Google. You'll be able to find that. But it amply highlights the correlation between willpower and success in life that we have been talking about. Now, is it possible to increase the willpower of children right from infancy is the big question, right? Which we will talk about. There's another doctor, Richard Ferber, who has spoken about it, but we'll continue this discussion. Okay. Now let's move on. But as an adult, here we're talking about kids. As an adult, it's definitely way to enhance our willpower by denying your mind. When we deny our mind, you empower your intellect. When we empower an intellect, mind is automatically weakened. In your prefrontal cortex, where the willpower comes from, it keeps on becoming thicker and thicker. And the thicker it is, the more willpower you have. And it is said you exert willpower to build good habits. And once you build a good habit, you don't need that willpower anymore. Then it becomes your second nature, like the back of your hand. And then you spend another set of, another round of willpower to establish another good habit. And then you establish good habit, then you don't need willpower at all. Okay. So this marshmallow experiment is a very fascinating experiment. You can go check it up in Google. But it actually is able to establish the correlation between willpower and success in human life. So let's move on now to our topic of our discussion, 5.2. I'm going to recite it. We'll pick up a few hands. Shri Bhagavanuvacha Sanyasa Karma Yogascha Nishreya Sakaravubho Tayostu Karma Sanyasyat Karma Yogo Vishishyate. Maybe 5 hands will take. We have a lot of content to cover too.
Sure. Sandhya, please go ahead.
Radhe, please go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Sanyasah Karma Yogascha Nishreya Sakaravubhau Tayostu Karma Sanyasat Karma Yogo Vishishyate.
Very nice, thank you. Let's take the remaining 4 hands.
Please go ahead, Shyamji.
Shyamji.
Shri Bhagavanuvacha Sanyasa Karma Yogascha निःश्रेयस करावुभौ तयोस्तु कर्म संन्यासात् कर्मयोगो विशिष्यते. राधे
Very
राधे.
nice. Thank you. Radhe Radhe.
Rahul ji, please go ahead.
Radhe Rahul.
जय श्री राम।
Jai
Jai
Shri
Shri
Ram.
Ram.
श्री भगवान उवाच संन्यास कर्मयोगस्य निःश्रेयस्करावुभौ तयोस्तु कर्म संन्यासात् कर्मयोगो विशिष्यते। राधे राधे।
Very nice, Rahul. Thank you. Okay, we'll take two more hands and then we'll get started.
Go ahead, Riya ji.
Radha Radhe.
राधे राधे।
Radhe.
श्रीभगवानुवाच सन्न्यासकर्मयोगश्च निःश्रेयसकरावुभौ तयोस्तु कर्मसन्न्यासात् कर्मयोगो विशिष्यते।
Very nice. Thank you. Last but not the least, Pragiji, please go ahead.
हेलो राधे राधे।
Radhe Radhe.
श्रीभगवानुवाच सन्न्यासा कर्मयोगश्च निःश्रेयस्करावुभौ तयोस्तु कर्मसन्न्यासात् कर्मयोगो विशिष्यते। थैंक यू।
Thank
राधे
you.
राधे।
Radhe Radhe. So, Supreme Lord said, both the path of Karm Sanyas, which is a renunciation of actions, and Karm Yog, working in devotion, lead to the supreme goal. Karm Yog is superior to Karm Sanyas. Today, we are going to spend a little bit of time on Karm Yog, what Karm Yog is, and go a little more deeper technically as well. So, fourth chapter, Varnashram Dharam, we have spoken about these, right? The difficult path in the sense that we are all obliged to discharge these rinas just to justify our existence, because God has made us human, and we've been talking, right? There is a price tag to everything, and there are no free lunches. So similarly, because we are breathing oxygen, God has endowed us with intellect and given us a human birth. There are certain obligations on us, which are all these rinas that we talk about. So Pitririn, Devrin, Ririn, we've spoken about Rishirin and Bhutrin. There's no escape from it. Okay, we have to do that because we are born as humans, and as humans, we take so much from uh, you know different people around. We take it from our ancestors because of we owe it to them for our existence and whatever DNA they've been able to pass to us. We owe it to devatas who are orchestrating this nature for us so that we can have a comfortable living. We can consume grains and sustain our bodies. We owe it to other human beings, right? Even the Zoom technology that we have right now, it's only because of that somebody came up with that invention, and then we are able to leverage it. Then Rishi Rin, because all this knowledge, if not for rishis, this would not have been accessible to us. And it's like having a product without a product manual. How can you lead it, right? If everybody's on their own to lead life the way they think is best, then it will be a wild, wild west. And that's what essentially is happening, because people lead the life based on their own fundas in life, which can be very treacherous. And the Bhutrin, of course, everything is serving. If you look at it, it's a very interesting ecosystem where everything is serving. So it's only the humans who are hoarding. So service should be something which should be the primary goal of our life, as opposed to hoarding things for ourselves. It's in giving one shall receive. That is the spiritual principle. Now, the good news is these debts basically you can actually get rid of these debts if you simplify your process and do things in the spirit of doing it for a devotion of God. That becomes watering the root itself. You don't have to worry about going to each leaf, twig, fruit of a tree and water it individually. Instead, you just water the root, and root knows where to funnel the water or channelize it to the appropriate places where it is needed the most. Plant takes care of it. Similarly, when we discharge our duty to God, see, when you discharge your duty to God, that doesn't mean you have to directly work for God. Okay, it's a consciousness that you're building. Okay, this is where we're going to get into the Karma Yoga part of it. You don't have to do anything drastically different, right? You might be hitting the keyboard for a living, that which is what I do, or you could be a doctor, you could be a lawyer, you could be a householder, or you could be a businessman. Any profession that you are in, when you do it with a spirit of, I am doing it as a service to God, okay, to the best of my abilities. So whatever talents God has endowed me with, I'm going to utilize it to the best of my ability, not only to discharge my duty, immediate duties of people around me, but also, serve God as well. Serve God means it. Now we'll get into that deeper discussion as well. How do you serve God, right? Serve God, it starts with, eventually it should be from your mind. But man is later. Before man comes tan and dhan. So even in Karm Yog, when you work, if you simply consume yourself, everything, then you are not taken that first step of building that spirit. Only when we start parting with something that we are utilizing for ourselves, or we are using for our own benefit, then we start building that spirit. So that is why our scriptures say give away 10% of it, regardless. Right? 10% is again a hygiene criteria for you to justify your existence on earth, I would say. That is the basic criteria. So 10% of your time to God, 10% of your wealth to God. So that rule is there. Ek dasham, in all the traditions, it is there. So let's move on. So when we start building that relationship with God and whatever we do, that is what is Karm Yoga is. Okay. Now let's go a little deeper into this concept today. There are two kinds of actions. Action one is type 1. Action 2, type 2. Every action that we do is performed with intellect and mind. Without the application of mind, you cannot perform any action. And mind is governed by something called intellect. It is like a boss of mind sitting on top of your mind. Your mind cannot do anything until it is approved by your intellect. If your intellect says no, your mind will not do that. And if your mind says no, your senses will not reach out to that, right? It's like you might be very hungry and you might be very fond of a gulab jamun and you might be fasting. So just the very thought of gulab jamun will make you, salivate. And just when you're about to have it, if somebody tells you that there is poison in it, your intellect will direct your mind will direct your hand, and you'll throw it away. So all the temptations will vanish, evaporate in a second. That is the power of intellect over your mind. So intellect and mind both are engaged in performing any activity that we do in our life. The type 2 action is intellect, mind is needed. There's another dimension that gets added, which is called attachment. Okay, it's an email attachment, but I hope you got the point, right? There are actions that we do with our mind and intellect, and then there are actions that we do where not only mind and intellect are involved, but attachment also comes into picture. Okay, and that is where things start getting messier. In fact, attachment is called one of the most unholiest things. When I said unholy, why it is unholy? It is actually unholy. That actually um, makes us repeat in this world. Does not let us see things the way they are, but as they seem. And it works against purifying our mind as well. So attachment is something we need to systematically not only understand, that is what our secret stash is, but also work on it. And spirituality is all about giving you the tools to see things as they are, very objectively, without the colored glasses of your attachment. Okay, so let's look at it, this attachment. Yes, so attachment. So these are the two kinds of actions. Now, Lord Krishna in Karm Yoga saying there are 4 principles you need to follow. Actually, a quick recap of Karm Yoga concept. Do your duty, do not concern yourself with the results. First principle. Now, immediately your mind will rebel, say, how is it possible? Okay. How is it possible? I don't think about the results. If I don't have goals and milestones, then how am I going to work? Goals and milestones are good. God is going a little deeper. He's saying, don't concern yourself with the results. Focus on the process. And I'll give you a couple of examples to drive home the point, because immediately your mind rebels and says, how am I going to operate if I don't think about the results? But it is counterintuitive, but this is how it works. There are a lot of successful people in life, they do understand this principle. And when they start bringing more attention, the proportion of their attention, when it starts increasing more towards the process or the journey part of it, rather than the outcome and the result part of it, they are able to discharge their work more efficiently and effectively. I'll give you a quick example of a surgeon performing a surgery. He might be the best surgeon, but when he's doing it like a factory, one after another, with the precision of a surgeon, of course. But when his own child or somebody who's very dear to him comes in front of him on the operation theater, the table, his hands start shaking. Why? Because now the attachment has come. So attachment actually results in subpar performance, suboptimal performance, not the best. It doesn't bring out the best in us. Okay, this is how it works. People, when they walk on a tightrope in circus, the moment they think, self-doubt is there, right? That what if I fall? They will fall. So they need to be trained so much that they have absolutely no doubt they're going to fall. Okay. They just focus on the process, the next step, and that is how they are able to achieve expertise even in that field. So this is the first principle. The second one is the fruits of your action are not for your enjoyment. It's definitely not for your enjoyment. Okay. Uh, why? Because those fruits, when we enjoy it for ourselves, it leads to binding karma. If you want to enjoy the fruit, it also comes with a price tag. There are no free lunches we have spoken about. There's absolutely nothing that we think is free in this world. We are not aware, but we are paying the price for it. And the price is very heavy. What is that heavy price? We are incurring binding karma. So when we think we are going to enjoy it ourselves, then we are incurring a binding karma. Now you will say, if I'm not going to enjoy myself, life will become boring, very uninteresting. What kind of a philosophy is it? No, the counterintuitive thing is when you offer the fruit to God, he, at that moment, he'll automatically give you, what you wanted through that fruit. What is that aspect? Joy, peace, bliss, all that you're looking for. Why do we earn money? So that we can buy things. Why do we want to buy things? Let's think deeply about it. Do we love money? No. We love things that money can buy. Why do we love those things? Because we think those things are going to satiate our senses. Why do we want to satiate our senses? Because we think we will get happiness and satisfaction out of those. Why are we thinking happiness and satisfaction of our senses will is the thing to go after? Because we think we are this body. So that fundamental cycle, and the buck stops at becoming happy, joyful, peaceful, content. You have everything in this world. If there was a guy who created a wish list, a bucket list for himself, and he created everything. I need a perfect job, I need money, I need car, I need this and this and all that stuff. And he went to a wise man. He said, you know what, your list looks outstanding, but it lacks one basic thing. And if you don't have it, all that you have is pointless, like a unsharpened pencil, right? So he said, what is that? He said, peace of mind. If you don't have that, what's the point? So when you offer the fruits to God, then as a byproduct of it, you will automatically get that peace. You'll get closer to bliss, peace, and joy that you have always been seeking. That is also counterintuitive, but this is again one of the principles you can start trying, practicing in the laboratory of life when the situation arises, and see how it works. What is the third principle? The third principle is, even while working, give up the pride of doership. This pride is very subtle, that needs to be worked on very carefully. Um, we have spoken about this principle of window mirror principle, that anything good gets accomplished through you, you attribute it to God and his grace and his inspiration. Anything bad happens, you look at yourself, because of your imperfection and your exertion of free will has resulted in that, because you are imperfect, right? If you do like that, then it will draw more of grace of God. So don't attribute or take that pride in anything good that gets accomplished through you. Attribute it back to God, because end of the day, it's his energy that is enabled, right? If the fan starts taking pride, how great I am, right? And forgetting that it is the powerhouse which is giving it the energy, and there's a cause and effect relationship there, right? If the powerhouse cuts the power, then what's the point of having it, right? So that is the way you need to build that consciousness. So work on your pride aspect of it, basically, is what it is saying when you do things. Because anytime that pride can get built up because of anything. Somebody praises you, pride can rear its ugly head. You end up accomplishing something good, pride can come. um, when you have power, money, and fame, anyway, it can corrupt you, because it builds pride. It's very difficult to not become proud if you have any of these things. What are these three things? They say money, power, and fame. The only way you can neutralize this is if you have a spiritual mentor and they bless you, then you can tackle these things. Otherwise, it can corrupt anybody. So this is the third thing. And the fourth thing is, do not be attached to inaction. Laziness, slothfulness, procrastination, stay away from that. Don't use spirituality as an excuse to run away from your duties. Inaction is strongly condemned by Lord Krishna. So these are the four principles of Karm Yoga. It's a crash course on Karm Yoga we are doing today because we have already spoken about it. Now we will go as much as is needed to know Karm Yoga, but not too detailed. Now, do your duty, do not concern with your results. Why does God say that? Because there are multiple result influences. Your efforts, the cumulative karmas of people involved, destiny of our past karmas, will of God, efforts of others. So variables are play. It's a very complex algorithm. All you control from your hand is your efforts. Today, I was listening to the speech of our CEO at Charles Schwab, and he was saying one of the things that he's going to focus in 2024 is what are the things we can do better. Focus on the controllables rather than worrying too much about the environment. What if a financial crisis happened? What if a Silicon Valley bank, right? It happened, it collapsed. What if? You cannot, right? You can only think of things. You can have a contingency plan. That doesn't mean you become foolhardy and take risks in life. You do your due diligence around, you do your planning, but then don't get crippled or paranoid about thinking more about the things which are beyond your control. So that is the key thing in Karm Yoga and matter of luck and all that stuff. So what happens? You say, no, I'm going to think about the results. So if you don't do that, what happens? If you're concerned with the results, it'll lead to expectation. Right? It'll lead to expectation. When it leads to expectation, it'll lead to anxiety. When it leads to anxiety, then it will lead to suboptimal exposure. It's a very simple process. Now, people have written tons of literature, and there are so many self-help books available on Amazon with so many authors on stress management and this. Lord Krishna has given this formula 5,000 years back. One shloka of Bhagavad Gita, done. Just understand this principle of Karm Yoga, no stress whatsoever. Look at Swamiji, you know how he operates. He has 500 sister organizations. And he says your problems that you guys face in Seva is nothing as compared to the kind of challenges that he has to face every day. He says, sometimes I feel, all the organization is going to collapse. He has to deal with people like us and they have their own egos and other things to deal with, and they will come and complain, and this is not happening. That person said this to me. I'm not going to do this. And people are after him, they're looking at litigations and stuff. So you can just imagine the kind of complexities, even though he's a Karm Sanyasi, such a big household he has. But he's happy. When he's in the moment, he's in the moment with you. He could be running a discourse and he may have to be traveling immediately after that, but within those 15 minutes he might carve out a time for you on Zoom, and you will think he just belongs to you. Every pore fiber of his existence is directed at you because he's in the moment, not worried about things and everything like that, right? So those are the things, if you look at it, there's so many role models. You can directly look at him and see how he operates. Just by observing, you can gain so much out of it, how to operate effectively without overly concerning yourself with the results. Somebody asked him, you're building such a university, thousands of crores of rupees will go there. Don't you get stressed? He said, my father is there, right? Why do you have to be? I mean, he was casual about it. You see, that's how it goes. Anyways, so this is the principle of Karm Yoga, and it's a humorous acronym for this is NATO. It is not attached to outcome, not North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which is in news these days. So this is Karm Yoga, and now this is a circle of control. I think you can just note it down, take a screenshot, put it on your refrigerator. But this is the key thing. The biggest problem in our life is we keep worrying about the things which are beyond our control, right? Like results, and completely forgetting the things and not focusing on things that are within our direct influence. Now, if you think about what is worrying us, what is worrying us is, what will happen if I fail this? And that can bring in anger, frustration, anxiety, focus on the future, unnecessary distraction. It can bring in fear as well. Fear and worries also. When we are doing fear and worries, it is like, what do you call that? There was an interesting quotation I had run. It's like paying interest on a loan that you have not even gotten. So would you like to continue to pay interest on something that you don't have? That is what worries. When you fear something and when you're worrying, you are paying interest on a loan which you may or may not even incur. So this is how it goes. And when you focus on the things that are within your control, then it'll bring in discipline, intensity, perseverance. These are things I have within my control. I can practice. I can bring in intensity, positive attitude to anything. Hard work I can do. And it helps us build confidence, odds of exceeding our potential, makes our work enjoyable, focus on present, living in the moment, power of now. There's a book, right, by Kurt Schultz. The complete book is on this concept only. So this is one of the best prayers, serenity prayers. You can put it right. Always remind yourself when you start worrying about any situation, whether it's your exam, whether it's some result, whether it's a situation you're dealing with. This prayer is very, very nice. Serenity prayer, that God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. That is the key, wisdom to know the difference. More often than not, why do we get worried? Because we start focusing on uncontrollables rather than thinking of things that are well within our control. So this serenity prayer is very handy. To remind yourself to practice Karm Yog. Now, body, let's talk about this. How do we work? Our body is engaged whenever we do some work. Our senses are engaged when we do some work. Our mind is engaged as well, right? We have spoken about this. This is how we typically work, right? Body, mind, and our senses are engaged. Now, your mind may not be engaged. Senses may not, your senses may not, senses are body is body senses. Your mind may or may not be engaged. We have spoken about it. But typically, these are the three things, entities that come into picture whenever you do some work. Now, within mind, what happens is you have two aspects to the mind, man and buddhi. In fact, there are four, but let's simplify this conversation. There are man and buddhi, mind and intellect, two aspects to it. So, intellect and mind. Intellect is the decision making faculty within your mind, and then mind is there. So, what do you do with mind? In Karm Yoga, what happens is you have to work with your body and senses. Let's say you go to office, or you're a doctor, or you are a lawyer, or you're working at home. So all the three entities are coming into picture. What Karm Yoga says is that you use your intellect to operate effectively in the world. You have to use your intellect, and God has given it for a reason. If you'll not use your intellect in the world, then you will be you will be run over. You'll not be able to operate effectively. That doesn't mean you become a 420. That means you got to be smart enough, because if you're not, then a lot of time can go in. Even your spirituality can get derailed as well if you are too seedha, too simpleton kind of a person. So buddhi has to be used effectively to operate in the world, while mind, Karm Yoga says, has to be in God. This is the simple concept of Karm Yoga. The problem is we do the reverse. Our man is in world, and buddhi we put in our intellect. We start intellectualizing God and godly topics. You know what, this makes sense. You know what, it doesn't make sense. Seems like hocus pocus, does not appeal to my intellect. We put question mark on scriptures and God. So we just need to flip that. There's a paradigm shift that is needed. Buddhi in world, man in God. Tan hari mein man, man hari mein tan jagat mein. Not the other way around. Maharaj ji has said, "Yahi karm yog jaan." Right? Man, tan in car and man in yar. Man hari mein and tan jagat mein. That is what karm yog is. So mind has to be given to. Now, why mind in God? When we say mind in God, immediately the question that will come to your mind: how am I going to work if I'm going to think about God? So what it means is the attachment aspect of it has to be with God. Attachment means the so that part of it. Like we don't forget our identity. Similarly, we don't, not even for a moment, you would forget that your relationship with God, right? Some people who fall in love or fall in bitterness, they would experience that. Why? All the time that person is at the back of the mind. So that is where that attachment aspect has to be to the God. God is not saying, think about me. If Arjun is fighting the battle, it's a very high precision job and with a very less margin of error. And if he's able to do that, so can you and I as well in our day-to-day lives, and that is what God expects. So the attachment aspect has to be with God, not that you have to think, oh, I have to think about Krishna, then how are you going to code or how are you going to do your presentation? You can't do that. But we need to deepen it to an extent that it is there at the back of our mind all the times. I have told this story again. I'll repeat that. There was a boy who goes to a girl's father and say, I want to marry your girl. He said, you can marry her, sure enough, but then first you need to earn well, get six figure salary, become manager or executive, and then you come. He said, sure. So he goes and starts working hard. I think that 12th fail movie is there as well, right? He goes and okay, you just tell me something to do, and then he starts working. But why you're working? You're working hard, you're doing the job. It's not like you're losing the focus. You're working with intensity, you're bringing in whatever is needed to get the job done. But your attachment is somewhere else, so that I can get that. So that becomes God. And that essentially is what Karm Yoga. Now you would say, why God is asking you to do that? He's basically telling us, help me help you. Because God is the only thing pure in this world. Everything else is tainted with the Triguni Maya. God and God realized saints, by the way. So when you think about God, when you build that consciousness, it is going to purify you. It's going to cleanse your mind. Our mind is like, if you were to equate it with something material, it is like a old dirty cloth. So how do we wash a cloth? We put some detergent, soap, and fresh water on it. So that cleansing happens. So this cleansing can happen only when we attach our mind to something pure, which is God. It acts like that detergent and soap and the fresh water part of it. And when our mind is completely cleansed, then God will reveal himself. So I think in Ramayana it says, because it is Ram, I think I thought Ramayana, we can quote that. He says that Nirmal Jan Man, Nirmal Man Jan So Mohi Pave, Kapat Chal Chidra Na Bhave, Mohi Bhave. So basically he says the person who has a nirmal or a clean mind, they can achieve me easily. And one who is always thinking and calculating and plotting, then I don't like that part. Okay, so he's saying it very clearly. Even Bible says that blessed are those who have the hearts of a child, for they shall enter the kingdom of God first. Right? Traditions, the concepts are the same if you think about it, right? The depths may vary, but so working on antakaran or purifying it is the key message. And when we do that through Karm Yog, then we are doing ourselves a big favor. Rather than focusing on enjoying the fruit ourselves, when we start bringing God into the mix, we are doing the non-binding karma, cleansing our antakaran and reaping the benefit out of it as well. Right. So this is how this works. This is what Karm Yoga is. So let's look at some of the examples here, right, in day-to-day lives. When we taste failure, rejection, reversal in life, work towards acceptance in your mind with a firm faith. God is a plan that is manifesting for our benefit. Utilize it as an opportunity for inner growth. When we taste success as selection, promotion, hitting a lottery, material success such as successful entrepreneur, getting something we always wanted, you can always, have gratitude for giving the strength, wisdom, and ability to realize that something beyond our means and dovetail it for a higher purpose. You earn more so that I can give more. It's not like I earn more so that I can enjoy more, right? There's a what do you call that? Shift in the thought process. That's all it is. When we work hard towards something and get the desired results, gratitude for giving strength, wisdom, and ability to realize something beyond our means and dovetail it for a higher purpose. It's not I'm going to sit on my laurels and enjoy for myself. Keep on moving, right? Next step, next step. Take yourself. We have all infinite potential. Let's not cap it by thinking now it's time to rest on my laurels and enjoy it for myself. When someone praises us, when we get acknowledged by people, realize we are just an instrument that God chooses occasionally to manifest but a spark of his grand splendor. Bhagavad Gita says that it's none of our achievement, it is temporary. Directed to whom it truly belongs, that is God. Immediately direct it, leave it there only. I've told you, right? When you take and accept praises, you are exhausting your punyas. So leave it then and there. It can become a mindset very quickly with God and Guru's grace. So these are some of the ways you can neutralize or dovetail or start building mindset of Karm Yoga. with situations that will keep on testing us throughout our lives anyways, right? And then I had given a mathematical equation around this as well. If you do Karm Yog, now this is fairly complex. You may ask me question, not complex, but I just put in like if our age is 100, right? Let's say we are going to live for 100. I don't know who's going to live for 100. So then you have effectively 10 years. Okay. So 10 years, and then based on 2.4 hours if you spend every day. 10% rule, we said 2.4 hours, you calculate mathematically. You have roughly 10 years to do God realization. If you live for 100 years, assuming right from when you came out of your mother's womb, you started doing Radhe Radhe or Jai Siya Ram or Jai Shri Ram. Okay, that is also on a conservative side I've taken. So effectively, you have about 10 years if you go by calculation. If you live 75 years, you have 7.5, 55 years. If you are 25, 2.5 years. But when you start implementing Karm Yog, because typically you have an 8-hour workday, right? Then you are increasing your odds of building that consciousness threefolds, okay, directly. That's essentially what I had roughly put in. So hopefully that makes sense. See, I've not even factored standing in lines, waiting, queues and all that stuff, and driving time, sleeping time, like people like me for whom even 10 hours sleep is not enough. So all that I have discounted. I've very simplified it, but you got a gist of it, hopefully, right? So this is the benefit of introducing Karm Yoga into your life. You are increasing your odds by threefolds at least, minimum threefolds, maybe more. But the beauty of it is it becomes exponential. It is not linear. So if you have spent this, maybe a couple of years practicing this, and it has become your mindset, you're getting into bhav bhakti and those kind of things, then it will be exponential. So you don't have to worry about it. With that, I'll take a quick pause. Any quick questions? And then we have a beautiful presentation coming from Rahul on Maharajji's Jagat Gurutam Divas. So I'm looking forward to that. But maybe about 5 minutes or 2 minutes, we can take a couple of questions if there are any. Karm Sanyas tomorrow, compare and contrast. So be rest assured, we'll cover that as well. Any questions? Yes, Swati ji. Have you raised hand for the bhajan, or you have a question?
No, Radhe, Nitiji. I just wanted to see that circle wala slide. Can you just go back?
Okay, serenity prayer.
No, that in the circle whatever we can control, we should see that. No,
This
not
one?
this. No,
Yeah.
previous one.
Yeah, that was serenity prayer only. No?
Oh, okay. Thank you. I just wanted to say. Thank you very much.
So 7 habits of highly effective people, Mr. Stephen Covey. He talks about these circles, and he's also taken inspiration from Bhagavad Gita, by the way. In one of his interviews, I've heard him. So just to let you know how powerful Bhagavad Gita is. You pick up one concept from Bhagavad Gita and you can write tons of self-help books on that itself. That is how deep it is. And some people think Bhagavad Gita is all about moral science. It's not moral science. It's a very, very deep spiritual science, which moral science is just an surface part of it. Okay, one shloka can tackle the entire moral science. If you go to 16.3, you simply read one shloka and it will cover moral science plus much more than that. So it is a very, very deep knowledge that we are benefiting from. Yes, Sandhya, you had a question. Then we go to Rahul.
Yes, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
So, Karm Yog, you said that man hari mein tan jagat mein. So there is like a mismatch in the two places where mind and body will be engaged, which appears more difficult than a situation where both are engaged in the same place. I mean, yes, we will be discussing this more, but in
Karm
case you want.
Sanyas, when we get to Karm Sanyas, I'll discuss this more because that's where we can bring in compare and contrast between the two, right? Both body, man, and Jagat, Tan, both in God, one of them in God, reverse the equation. We'll talk about that. We'll make a quadrant. Okay, we'll do all that fun stuff. Okay, so be rest assured. Okay, any one more question and then we go to Rahul. Rahul, I'm looking forward to your presentation. I want to give you enough time. 1 more minute, maybe one more question if anybody has. If not, then please post the feedback tracker and put in your question if you have any. I'll try to bring it to the session. Okay, if nothing, then go ahead.
Questions.
All yours.
Chat windows.
All yours, Rahul. Go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Let me share.
Okay, so Akash, give me a sec. Just a minute. Just a minute. Mr. Akash has sent something to me on chat. I'll read it out. And I would appreciate, Akash, if you can come on video. Okay, it's important to establish that you are truly Akash. So we want to see who you are, and it's truly you are. Okay, because yes, Akash, can you please turn on your video? Because I see a message from you, and it's important we tackle it directly. So next time I see a message from you, before you get somebody removes you from the session because you do it only on the side. And I know your name is not Akash. You usually change that name, so you don't have to do that. If you come on video, we'll accept what you're asking for. But if you don't come on video, we have a good reason to believe you're the same person who keeps on changing names. And whenever we open up the chat, send out messages which are distasteful. Okay, so if not, then let's move on to the next. Over to you, Rahul.
Yeah, Radhe Radhe everyone. Yeah, Jai Shri Ram and Srimad Sadguru Sarkar ki Jai. So let's start with the audience poll here. Can anyone tell what is the name of this temple? Many of you might have visited it in India. Sandhya ji wants to answer, yeah. Or maybe Meenu ji.
This one is
It's Prem Mandir in
Prem
Vrindavan.
Mandir.
Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe, yeah. Thank you.
It's a
Yeah.
Prem Mandir in Vrindavan.
Yes, you correctly guessed it. Yeah, Radhe Radhe.
Radhe Radhe.
So I recently saw a video from Maharaji where he revealed how he named it Prem Mandir. And right at the entrance of the Prem Mandir, it is written Premadhin Brahma Shyam, which means that our Shri Krishna is under the control of divine love. And that is why Maharaji named named the temple in Vrindavan as Prem Mandir. So now we might be wondering who is Maharaji. So let's talk about that also. So we had 5 original gurus, original Jagat gurus in our history. The first one has been Jagat Guru Shankaracharya, followed by Jagat Guru Ramanujacharya, followed by Jagat Guru Nimbarakacharya, and then Madhavacharya ji, and then finally Jagat Guruttam Shri Kripaluji Maharaj. He was not only Jagat Guru, he was the Jagat Guruttam. And let's talk more on this. So on 14 January 1957, Kashi Vishwat Parishad, which was the allied body of 500 leading scholars of Vedic literature, they were masters of the Vedic literature, and they honored Kripaluji Maharaj with this title. And I can read the English version here. The greatest scholar with unparalleled knowledge of the Vedas and all scriptures of the world, the eminent propounder of eternal Vedic philosophy, the reconciler of all the seemingly contradictory philosophical views of the world, the supreme spiritual master who has revealed the eternal Vedic principles that lead one to their ultimate goal. And this is super important. Bhakti Yog Rasa Avatar, descension of divine love and bliss. And then the most revered divine personality and supreme spiritual master of the world, 1008, Swami Shri Kripaluji Maharaj. And they also declared that he is the Jagat Guruttam, which means in all the Jagat Gurus also he is the supreme. So that is the glory of Jagat Guruttam Shri Kripaluji Maharaj. Now let's move forward. Maharaj ji has given like a complete ocean of the philosophy filled with divine love. But he had mentioned multiple times in his lectures that this couplet sums up his entire philosophy, which goes like this. Hari Bhaju, Hari Guru Bhaju Nit Govind Radhe, Bhav Nishkam Ananya Banade, which means that constant, exclusive, and selfless loving devotion to God and Guru has been recommended to attain our supreme goal. Here, Hari and Guru have been highlighted in blue because those are important, and the devotion has to be done to both of them in equal proportion. Nit means constant, similar to like if you are trying to cook with the vegetable oil and you try to drop it on the kadai, then it is like constant. Yeah, so that is what Nirantar. And then Nishkam, selfless, and Ananya, exclusive, where you don't want to have the attachment to any other soul or any other living entity apart from Hari and Guru. And I have tried to highlight some of the key teachings here. I mean, there are multiple teachings, but some of these were, when I started listening to his lectures, were like mind blowing. And the first thing which starts is there are so many paths here, like which one to follow. And that is where he recommends that path of bhakti is the most relevant one. And you can see in Bhakti Shatak, which is also one of the divine compositions of Maharajji, where he has 100 couplets, it clearly says that although the scriptures describe the path of Karm Yog and Gyan, but if these are without bhakti, without devotion, then these paths are like a dead body with no soul. And this is like one of the highest philosophies which Maharajji has provided to us. The second one is mind is the key. We can talk about hundreds of rituals, doing thousands of japas, malas, going to pilgrimages. But if our mind is not getting attached to Hari and Guru, then this is zero. You can multiply that by 1 crore, 2 crore, the answer will be zero. Apart from that, Maharajji has mentioned about Roop Dhyan also. Because when you are thinking, when you are doing that chintan, that Roop Dhyan is also super critical. Otherwise, the bhakti will also be like without that soul, and you are just trying to do the physical drill. The main concept he has told about in Roop Dhyan also is he has given the complete freedom. That you can play cricket with that Thakurji, make matar paneer for him, or try to feed him rasgulla. Yeah. He will accept everything. You just have to mix love and devotion with that, and that is the secret recipe. And in one of his, the other thing which he has mentioned about Hari and Guru presence, this is also super equally important, because we have to feel that our Hari and Guru are always with us. People try to say that, oh, I'm lonely, I'm living alone. That is not the case. You already have your Hari and Guru inside your heart, and they are always protecting you, and they are also witnessing what you are thinking, not what you're doing, what you are thinking also. So be mindful of that also. Whenever we try to get distracted on a path which is not recommended for us, definitely all these tips and tricks, all those Tattva Gyan is super important. In one of the compositions of Maharajji, even though he has multiple compositions, this is one of the compositions from Shyama Shyamji, where he clearly says, Shyama Shyam Naam Rup, Leela Gur Dhama, Gao Ro Ke Roop Dhyan, Yukt Atho Yama, which means always chant Radha Krishna's names and sing songs of their beauty, pastimes, glories, and abode while meditating and shedding tears of love. And this shedding tears of love has been the critical, the crux of Maharajji's philosophy. Because always he has mentioned, whenever you go to the satsang and you start singing kirtans, close your eyes or even open your eyes, but try to bring your favorite image of Radha and Krishna, and then try to have the lively image of them, and then you can start any lila or then go according to the kirtan, whatever is there. So that Roop Dhyan is super, super, super important. Now, after his key teachings, let's focus on his key compositions. Yeah, I mean, we can't sing his glories, but I'm just trying to bring what I thought was super important. So one of the important compositions is Prem Ras Siddhant, which is also called Philosophy of Divine Love. And this is the crown jewel where Maharajji has gifted to the mankind, and this has almost all the questions and all those concepts of bhakti and encapsulated in that book, which says Prem Ras Siddhant. Apart from that, he has written multiple compositions, multiple kirtans filled with divine love. One of them, one of the compositions is Prem Ras Madira, which has 1008 songs and it consists of 21 different madhuris, where it has different sweet pastimes of Radha and Krishna, starting from Danya Madhuri, Siddhant Madhuri, Sadguru Madhuri, Shri Krishna Bal Leela Madhuri, Shri Radha Bal Leela Madhuri, and so on. So these are also the nectar of divine love. We just have to read them and try to do that root dhyan. That is equal, super important. Apart from that, Maharaji also gave us Radha Govind Geet. In the previous slide, I talked about Shyama Shyam Geet. Now this is Radha Govind Geet. And this is also a divine composition consisting of 11,111 couplets in very simple language. And these are like two single line couplets, again glorifying our Shyama Shyam, Radha Krishna, and then inspiring us with devotional sentiments in a very simple language. And this is one of the important letters I found which Maharaji has written to all the souls. And I would like to read this. Enshrined in golden letters, the divine secret that I'm about to reveal to you. The day a soul genuinely develops an unwavering, deep conviction in his heart, then God, his names are eternally one and the same with equal powers and attributes. At that very moment, he will become God realized. God is so merciful that he declares in the scriptures, I have made myself omnipresent, but you do not believe in this. I reside in my divine abode Golok, but you cannot reach there. I reside within your heart, but you do not accept it. So therefore, for your convenience, I have seated myself with all my powers in my divine names. This is super important because he says, Nami mein, Naam mein Nami with all his Shaktis is Virajman. That is what he is mentioning here. And the day this truth sinks into your heart, you will be so overwhelmed with bliss that you will not be able to recite Radhe. Your emotional voice will choke in your throat and your mind will drown in the ocean of bliss. Without delay, your Guru will shower his grace and make you God realize. Just believe in these words of mine, yours Kripalu. Radhe Radhe. And in the end, I would like to say, Radhe Radhe Govind Radhe. जगत गुरुत्तम श्री कृपालू जी महाराज की नित सेवा दिला दे. राधे राधे.
Very nice, Rahul. Thoroughly researched and very nice. It could not have been sweeter than this, the way you have, thoroughly covered everything, including all the treasure chests that Maharajji has created. So very well done. Loved every bit of it. I think Amruta Maniji, you want to say something as well? I think participants have raised hands.
Go ahead, Sandhya.
Radhe Radhe. What a wonderful presentation, Rahulji, and it was very comprehensive, showing different aspects of things which are very, very important for us to know about Maharajji. So thank you so much. And cheers to enthusiastic team. You being the representative of the team, you did a great job, and I think they have also entered their tick mark in this Seva presentations. So
Yeah.
very, very nice. And there is a request from Abhaji for you to share this final letter from Maharajji with everyone if possible. So I think you can post it on the community portal so that everybody can take the benefit.
Wonderful presentation,
You.
Rahul. Please do. I think you've gotten a lot of good points and things for reference that people who are getting who are don't know so much about Maharajji, they can take a lot from this presentation. So very nicely done. Thank you so much for that. Yes, Monica ji, you wanted to say something?
Go ahead.
Radhe Radhe. Thank you so much, Rahul ji. In fact, Rahul ji represented the enthusiastic team without enthusiastic team knowing about this. This is awesome. This is like one Nishkam Seva that you did, Rahul ji. Thank you for doing that on behalf of all of us. Sorry we couldn't contribute much. We were sort of busy with dance practices and all that, but then you just took care, and then at times a lot of, I'm sure we all have experienced this, that, when we are browsing through internet, some statement or something just clicks, right? And knowledge of Maharaji is something where, especially in today's life, it's the crux of what we are trying to do. And it's right there. And then we tend to, forget about this. But then today's presentation, Rahulji, it's sort of reminded. And again, that moment of enlightenment where the crux is something that you should know is known to a lot of people. So thank you very much for doing this. Radhe Radhe.
Rahul, lot of kind words coming your way, and I can see you put in a lot of effort on that. So thank you for that. Anybody
And I
else?
remember,
A lot of
yeah,
smiles as well. Madhu Chanda ji, I can see. So yeah, sorry, go ahead, Rahul.
one more thing I wanted to add. I remember in one of the family camps, Swamiji had declared that the philosophy which Maharajji has given is the highest. There is nothing beyond that. And he challenged that also. So hats off to Maharajji and Swamiji. Yeah, whatever we have, from them. Radhe Radhe.
And just to add, actually, can you believe in our luck? We are getting to learn the highest philosophy that is ever possible.
You just echoed my sentiments, Sandhya. Seriously, I mean, this is something, when I mean, America is like one of the youngest nation, right? But then once you have a draft, you can build over it, build over it, build over it, and then get the crux. And that's what we have. We are very, very lucky. Almost, for a lot of people, it's almost impossible to get to this knowledge in one lifetime. And then it's right in front of us. Thank you.
Very true. In fact, your own experience would tell you, if you have been exposed to other philosophies, and especially if you have been on the path of spirituality and dabbled with philosophies, theories, once you'll get this, you will know there's nothing more to know after this one. And this is the topmost message you can get on this planet and across Brahmands from a theory standpoint. 50% of the battle is taken care for us. It's like served to us on a platter. And Maharaj used to say, when he would give lectures, Brahma, Saraswati, and all the sages, they would come and sit. They will not reveal themselves. They would come and sit. That is the level of Tattva Gyan. We are getting it so easily. So of course we are fortunate in that sense. Very, very fortunate. I should say that. Great. Anything else? Anybody else wanted to add? What happened with you? Okay. There are too many direct messages. What do we do with that? So Akashji, my humble request to you, let's have a little bit of a one-on-one with Akashji to turn on your video. If not
If
video,
not, at least audio. Yeah.
if not, then at least audio. And air your grievances. It's important that we have participants here. See, it's like we come here for a purpose, right? And you seem to have your own agenda every meeting and keep messaging. I mean, we can ignore it, but we really want to help you here, okay? And anything that we can do, we are open for that. Why would you reach out to all the co-hosts and send messages which have no relevance to the sessions or anything at all, right? So if you have some trouble, we have a very warm, cordial, and a closed group. Why don't you come here, open yourself up, and we can tackle it once and for all. Why to send out messages and emails and all that stuff? Let's not do that. We have, there's a purpose for these sessions. When we open up chat, we want we want to hear from them. They can post questions, they can share their experiences, and you take on this opportunity of changing names and sending the same messages, right? Getting hung up in the same story that you have. So maybe in one of the session, I can bring in this case study to see, even after spending 2 years or 3 years of, this profound spiritual knowledge, a person can be so close and yet so far. And what can that person do? How can that person be helped? I would love to hear from you. Okay. Because this Akash, who keeps on changing names, I don't want to say that name again today, has been going on with it's like getting stuck in a rut and looking at opportunities to disrupt stuff. Okay. How to handle that, I don't know. Maybe we can take help from the audience, narrating what is going on here, and maybe that can help. So Akash, if you can turn your video or audio, I think that'll be very helpful. And we really want to help you. Okay, it's nothing about that. If you have a grievance, share it, right? What's the big deal? We all are here, and I'm standing in, sitting in front of you. If you have a grievance with me, please go ahead. With anybody, do that, but please stop doing what you're doing, sending personal messages, emails, And when we open up chat, just disrupting the proceedings, I mean, that's something not good for you or anybody in that sense. Yes, Rahul, please go ahead.
I wanted to add, maybe it can be helpful for Akashji or whoever it is. In Ramayana, Lord Ram only gave one lecture, and he told the Ayodhyavasi that you better utilize this precious human life to move towards him, not, getting entangled in any other things and all those other. So it is better to utilize this, and we have such a beautiful platform provided by Maharajji. Why not to utilize that? And if somebody disrupts that, then I think they are wasting the talent what they have and wasting their energy.
See, the idea of spirituality is to find the mantra in our life. That can come in a very subtle way and not end up becoming mantra ourselves, right? So we have to find that mantra in our life which might derail our journey. And that does not have to be a person. Mantra could be a negative thought that we are holding on to for an extended period of time. That would eventually become bitterness. And then that bitterness keeps on spilling over. So, like Swamiji so beautifully explained in Ramayana, we all have mantras in our life. And that mantra can come in form of a thought as well, right? So let's work on it. We are all here to help you. If you want to really get helped, I'm telling you, Akash, you just come. If you can't come on video, you're in office, come on audio. That way we know who you are and air it. We'll see what best we can do for you. But stop doing this. This doesn't help actually. We can ignore you until you tire you down, but doesn't you seem so motivated that you continue going on for the last, I don't know how many months. It's just a humble request. I mean, it's up to you if you want to heed to it or not. Let's move on. Do we want to move to our devotional segment real quick? Maybe
Sandhya's hand is raised. Do you want to say?
Yeah.
Yeah, like earlier my hand was raised. If we want to discuss this, we could also, like Cash ji suggested, we could probably stop recording and maybe if that encourages that person to speak. But if not, we can simply go ahead with.
We can stop
We can
recording.
stop the recording. Yes.
If that helps, we can stop.